Big Mecha. And now it's time for another edition of Big Mecha, but not huge. Hello, Will.
Hello, Sean.
Will, it's been a good run. I think it's time to finally end this podcast after the bullshit that we just witnessed.
So what I'm hearing is
Yeah.
it's finally time to move us into the true reason you started this podcast, which is to review Fruits Basket.
Oh, don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare. No. Everyone, I just want to let you know the podcast is definitely not ending. We did take a little bit of a break between episodes here because I was on vacation and I needed some time off. But no, that's not the issue here. The issue is this week's episode batch of Medabots, which I'm going to be real honest. The dub fucked up here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a little bit of refreshing for me, but the very first line, the very first word is the word I roll on my notes. That does not bode well.
No. Oh my god. It was a downward hill, like a downward roller coaster that just refused to stop when it should have and recorrect itself. It needed to get back on track and it didn't. It was just good lord. But before we go into that, Will, how have you been?
Pretty good, honestly. Working,
Have you been
watching
doing
stuff.
anything mecha related lately?
I feel like there was something mecha related that I genuinely wanted to talk about, and I'm having trouble
I
remembering what
mean,
it was.
when both you and I hung out last night to watch the new Kevin Smith movie, the 4:30 movie, now playing in theaters. Um, shameless plug.
Shill? Shill?
We stood outside in the parking lot and we talked for a little bit just about random mecha shit. Is that one of the things that you
True.
wanted to bring up?
Well, I mean, if we go and go all the way back there, so there, the thing that
Back
I
in
introduced you
'94.
to, oh, way fucking earlier than that, back in 1932,
Back in
uh,
'32.
yeah, there was a character created called Golden Bat, which is basically a solid gold skeleton man with magic powers. That's really all you need to know at the moment. His big thing is laughing and being overpowered and helping people. Um, he's a superhero who essentially is like the blueprint for masked heroes, tokusatsu, all of that stuff. He goes back way to the beginning. He predates a lot of it, and um, it's just an interesting thing I would recommend people go look up. The guy that I sent you was Kenny Lauderdale. Not that hard. Just look up Golden Bat on YouTube, and I think the video is called Golden Bat, Japan's first superhero, and it'll give you the basics on the character, where they came from, and all that stuff. But it really did lay a lot of groundwork and lead into, masked heroes in some ways, your tokusatsu stuff like that. They had
Mm-hmm.
a live action show way back in like the 50s or the 40s,
Back in the
and
'40s, '50s.
there was a dude dressed up like the character. It's just a piece of history and cool character. I would like to see them come back at some point, but that character may have inadvertently led to a revival slash adaptation of Garo, which is an anime from like 2006. There might have been somebody working on a revival of Golden Bat, and then it essentially didn't pan out, so they pivoted into Garo. And in that anime, the main character dresses in a special suit that is all gold, and you can kind of see the side by side when compared with what is believed to be concept art of Golden Bat's new version, the updated one, and you can kind of see how one grew into the other. So it's just interesting, a bit of history, and I recommend Kenny Lauderdale's channel to anybody who wants to look it up. He talks a lot about old anime, and you learn a lot of cool stuff on it.
Now, is Kenny Lauderdale from Fort Lauderdale?
I have no idea. I don't even know if Kenny Lauderdale is their real name. It's the internet. That is legitimately the name of the channel. That could just be the name of the channel.
Interesting. You're probably right, and I'm okay with that, but I just wanted to verify.
I mean, they might be somebody named Kenny from Fort Lauderdale.
I mean, that's true, but he's probably some backwater person who is like likes to hunt and in the swamp grounds, and has nothing to do with mech. So, yeah. um, as I mentioned earlier, I was on a vacation for roughly about a week and a half, and I didn't do anything mecha related during that time. It wasn't until after I had finished my vacation, where last weekend, I would say starting on Saturday night, yeah, Saturday night, I ended up acquiring a copy of a brand new PS5 game that came out called Astrobot.
Ooh,
The reason why it's mech related is due to the fact that it's a little robot. There you go. That's all you need to know.
Robo
No, it
mascot.
it is an action platformer done in the vein of like old school character platformers like Crash Bandicoot, Super Mario, all those like that. And it's
Spyro.
a giant love letter to, yeah, Spyro's even in it too, just as like one of those random
Nice.
things that you find as an unlockable.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is a giant love letter to PlayStation games, and it goes from like back to its PS1 days all the way up to even to the PS5 stuff.
Ooh.
There
Does it
are
have the
multiple different.
jumping Flash, the first person robot that's a rabbit?
Yep.
Nice.
No, it doesn't. I just
Oh,
wanted to go ahead and say that.
that's mecha
um,
related too, technically.
it is. But they do have a whole bunch of different things in there. They even have all the different like Personas 3, 4, and 5. They have
Hmm.
characters from there. And to make that at mech adjacent, they have Aegis from Persona 3 as one of the unlockables in there.
She is a robot. Yes.
She is a robot. And they have a whole bunch of other different things that make it really cool. The whole thing is basically you're Astrobot, you're piloting a giant spaceship that's in the shape of a PS5, and it's
Wow.
basically just a PS5. And
Subtle.
then while you're in space, an alien ends up taking, like, they end up shooting you down and then taking all of your parts out. So you have to go and try to find all the different giant pieces that are needed to basically get your mothership, which is the PS5, back in order.
This is a much
And
less dark version of a Osamu Tezuka story. Keep going.
so all you're doing is you're just going from world to world, and you're picking up all these different VIP astrobots or grunt astrobots, getting them all together. That way they can show up back on your world. You're going to get a different bunch of parts for the PS5 to basically be back to normal. And each thing, it's like you get your SSD, you get your CPU, you get your GPU, you get all this other stuff to make sure that it's good and running. And it showcases the PS5's full functionality, including using the DualSense properly. It's just a masterpiece of a game. You can get it done in about like 15, maybe 18 hours. I think for me, I got it done in 17 for the full 100% platinum trophy. It's a fairly standard and easy game for the most part. The only way that it really offers a challenge are what you call as the shape missions, where after Galaxy 1, they decide that they want to do these different missions that are based off of the shapes on the front panel of your controller. So you've got your cross button, square, circle, triangle. They have different missions that are based off of cross, circle, square, triangle. And the way that they do that, it's like, okay, cool. These are challenge. Have fun. You're gonna get special VIP bots going here, so you can like unlock Metal Gear. You can unlock random Street Fighter stuff. It's just so fun. But good lord, these ones, it's like doing trial and error runs, doing Dark Souls type stuff. It's
Oof.
ridiculously hard. And there's 300 VIP bots, or no, 300 bots that you need to get. But once you manage to get all of them, beat the game, you have one final mission called the Grandmaster Trial. And it's basically doing all of your techniques and everything that you've learned to go and get the one final bot, which is called the Golden Bot. And so it becomes 301.
Nice.
It's tough, but that game as a whole has legit one of the best final levels that I've ever played. From beginning to end of that level, it's just awesome. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody as much as this is a spoiler type of podcast. No, not for this game. You just need to enjoy it and have fun.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's basically all that I've done mech related. Oh, well, no. During vacation, I did buy a Gundam. I ended up buying I bought a live action Gundam. No, I bought a
Yeah.
model kit
Damn, must
over
be
at
doing a lot better than I did.
right.
Buying Gundams left
But
and right. Hot dog.
I bought a model kit over in over at one of the malls nearby, and the only reason that I got it is because when it comes to buying certain kits now, anything Gundam related, I will either buy something that's massively huge that has a lot of different features to it, Gundam Wing kits because Gundam Wing is what I grew up with,
Yep.
or any kit that will transform into something else because
Ah,
that's the Transformer nerd in me.
eh,
And
yeah,
that's why I love Wing Zero so much. This kit, I'll have to go grab it, but basically it just turned into a giant jet, and I'm like, you know what? I just love me some jets. I love me Gundam jets.
it's fair.
So yeah, it was cool. But other than that, haven't really done anything else mech related until we started to get back into Medabots today. My God, I was everyone.
Hmm.
This is where I think the dub might actually start taking a turn for me because I was very angry watching these. So
Not your
if anybody
favorite
has
batch.
listened, oh God, if anybody has ever listened to Toku for Two, you'll notice that it starts off with me really, really enjoying Ultra Q, but then it starts taking a turn where like, oh no, these aren't good. These are really, really bad. What did they do here? That's Ultra Q on its own. Has nothing to do with any dubbing or anything like that. Apparently, there was a dub that was made, but my broadcast episodes that I ended up getting through the Blu-ray did not have that. It was just straight up what it needed to be. Still a decent show, just not nothing great.
Hmm.
So Medabots, however, for the dub, as we
Hmm.
have discussed on prior episodes, they like to air things out of order.
For whatever
From
reason.
the very beginning, they've aired things out of order. Like after episode 2, Will, the first episode that we watched today was episode 19.
Hmm.
Do you know what episode it's supposed to be?
No, I really don't. I didn't look up the proper order for this.
Episode 33.
Good lord. Oh boy.
Now, I would be okay with that if they didn't do what they did, which was show us an episode that has nothing to do with like pretty much anything prior, or if it has like even a remote connection to something prior. As long as we have a good, step forward from the last episode, which was 15 minutes of shame. This episode called Enter Rintaro. I'm sorry, it's not episode 33. It's episode 31. Still just as bad.
Yeah.
It starts off with a flashback of footage that was clearly shown in another episode that we did not see. They give you knowledge of something that they basically say, hey, this happened, but we did not see it because it was all part of episode 30
Which they haven't
when we
shown
are
us.
on episode 19 of the dub. Exactly.
That wasn't
Episode
even.
30, episode 30 in the dub is episode 39.
We're not gonna watch it for so long.
I was I was I was not having it. So already off to a really bad start here. Not only that, the episode called Enter Rintaro, I got so mad with Rintaro even existing in the first place.
Ooh. Yeah, I could see him annoying
I
you a lot.
he is when you are introduced to him, he just says dude over and over.
They make him sound like
He's
a
this
surfer guy. They give him the
he
"What
make
up,
they make him sound
dude?"
like a South Park character.
Yeah, he does, but he has an exaggerated surfer accent, a la California.
Yep. So I was not having it with this episode. It was from the get go. It's just like, oh my god, like everything about it. Just like I have notes on it, but this is not. This was starting to get to the point where I'm like, all right, this is now becoming a chore.
Yeah, I reread my note as you're talking about it. The episode's coming back to me. I know why I wrote my first line. I remember why, and why it just kind of made me sigh.
So it starts off with Cyan Dog training, but apparently he's not Cyan Dog anymore. He's now called Crosser Dog because he's in a
Yeah.
brand new body, even though he looks the same.
No, he looks different. It's a slight
I mean,
alteration.
yeah, like 90% the same.
Yeah, but it's the kind of alteration you expect 30 episodes into an anime when they start redesigning characters to give them cool version 2, cool version 2. That's what you expect at that point, especially for side
Oh, you mean
characters.
like 31 episodes into an
Yeah,
anime rather than
not
19?
19. And I'm now curious because they've screwed it so hard. Is he just gonna look totally different the next time we see him, and they're just not gonna address it? Like, is he gonna be crosser dog, but they're just not gonna talk about it? Like, what's that
I
gonna
have
be?
no
How
idea.
are they gonna bridge the
Yeah,
next 14 episodes or
I was
whatever
I
until we
was
get
really
to
annoyed after
the
that because
proper
right
order?
after that is when they show the flashback. Yeah, it was just really bad. How the plot proceeds from there, I get a little confused because I was at that point with me being so annoyed, it was very hard for me to pay attention. Um,
Ah,
so from what I remember, Cyan Dog is training. He ends up looking up
mm-hmm,
and he sees this red Metabot who we find out much later in, I think, the next
Next
episode.
episode.
It's another one called Arc Beetle. It's this red Medabot that kind of looks like a Gundam a little bit. It
It
actually has a
looks
really cool
really
design.
fucking cool. That's
Yeah,
one of the really cool designs. We find out whose Metabot it is in the next episode, but
and we
Arc
fucking
Beetle's
called it as being
oh
something
yeah,
similar.
100%. But
Yeah.
that design is really goddamn cool. Like it's
Oh yeah.
really cool.
Oh yeah.
Also broken,
So,
but
and then as they're looking up at it, they both Spike and Crosser Dog end up getting struck by random lightning.
and they do verify later, 100% they just got struck by lightning. It wasn't even the Metabot. They were just really unlucky standing in the middle of an open area during a lightning storm. They were
They
just
legit
really
ask him, "How are
unlucky.
you still alive?"
Yeah,
And then immediately
they
followed up
do.
by anger. What are you doing running around getting struck by lightning for when you should be helping us?
I know. They're like, wait, how are you not dead?
Like those are some decent lines. I will give it that. Like
That was
it
pretty
has some
good.
positives to this, but good lord.
Well, the main
Um
conflict for this episode is what really got me, so I don't like it.
so
It's boring.
I'm trying to remember. I literally just
Oh,
watched an hour and a
okay.
half ago.
So this episode's main conflict is Rintaro shows up. He's a little kid, and bear in mind the main characters are in middle school. So when I call Rintaro little, he's in like fourth grade or third
Oh,
grade.
he's super
He's
short. He looks like
he's like
Shin-Chan
yeah,
meets South Park.
he's like half their height, and they're only like 3, 4 feet tall at most. Well, like three.
Yeah.
He's like 2, 2.5 feet tall because he's like 7.
Yep.
So, or 8 or whatever. He's really tiny. He's very young, and they look at him like he's super young, and Rintaro's like, "No, I'm cool," and they're like, "Dude, you're in like elementary school. You're a little kid, even to us." But the main conflict is there's somebody running around attacking people, and they do the thing in anime where a character who quote unquote looks like the main hero character runs around doing a bunch of stuff that's out of character for them, and everybody gets really mad at the main character, the hero, and then you see them, and you as the audience are like, how the fuck could you think that's the same? Like Sonic and Shadow, who look nothing alike. Even if you silhouette them, they don't look alike. How the fuck can you not tell? There's one Sonic, you see a different looking one. They don't even look similar. And this one, I get that they're like, oh, well, it's the same model. You live in a world of mass produced robots. There are
Yeah,
probably
let's clarify on this.
hundreds of fucking Metabes in the world. I'm not even
Yeah,
joking. On the low end, hundreds, probably thousands, because the corporation makes a lot of them. How could you literally look at it and go, well, it looks like him. It must be him. We hate him now. It's like, dude, that's a mass-produced robot. He's not. It's not like Rakusho. There's fucking one of
yeah.
him. Come
Let's
on.
clarify this. So basically, Rentaro, he has been battling random people, and
Hmm.
everybody's getting upset by it. And Rentaro has a Kabuto type Metabot, which looks like a very bulky version of Metabee.
Like
Like
an
it looks like it
updated
was pulled.
version.
I wouldn't say updated.
Well, okay, I would call it the
It looks
heavy.
very tanky.
I would call it the tank version, which is why I refer to it as updated, because they do explicitly say Metabee's armor is old as fuck, because that's why he got it
Yeah,
for free. But he is an updated one because they took the Beetle chassis and they're like, okay, what if we like refined and we gave it like better protection in certain spots and we adjusted how this is? It's the newer model of that. Not necessarily better, not necessarily worse, just the newer one. So they
yeah,
look really close, and that makes sense. But again, you live in a world of mass-produced items. How the hell are you just like, oh, that must literally be the one that I know, even though I have no way of verifying that except that, it's yellow, it's a beetle type Metabot. There are thousands of those, but I'm sure that one is literally the same one because there's no way someone else could have this thing. Dude, seriously? Come on. I drive a car. I drive by my car on the road. It's not weird to run into another one.
right, absolutely. And it's also weird because when you see this actual Metabot, who is called Kantaroth,
Yep,
it
pretty
sounds
cool name.
like a deeper voiced version of Metabee.
It might be the same voice actor, just like
That
they keyed him or something.
that's what I'm thinking.
They toned him down and
Um,
they had him read other lines.
so Koji is upset because nobody wants to battle him because he's number
Yeah.
two,
Yeah, he's
and he's
having
like,
the
"Feed my
everybody.
ego."
Yeah, he's essentially like which he's right, and this is how it works. If there were three people who only the top three people get to represent Japan, and in the contest you have to join the top three, why on earth would you, as a challenger, go after number one or number two who are better than number three? You would go after the weaker link. You would attack three. Three is going to get more attention than one or two. Koji
Hmm.
is mad because he wants to battle, he wants to get better, but because he's number two, he's accidentally too high up on the roster, and now everybody goes after number three. Because from their perspective, looking up the rankings, it makes the most sense. And from his perspective, they're like, why would I challenge you? I would probably lose. If I can't even beat number three, what makes you think I could beat two? So
Right.
it makes sense.
But because of that, he's also being a little bitch boy about
Yeah, I mean, he is a
it.
kid, so he's also whiny. He's
Yeah.
always been whiny. That's his character.
So Rentaro shows up in all of his quote unquote glory,
Hmm.
and he wants to challenge Icky.
Hmm.
And Koji's like, "No, you need to challenge me before you challenge him because let's go down the totem pole, I guess."
Yeah, well, he just
And
wants a fight. He just really
yeah,
wants a fight.
and so the ref shows up as a female disguise, which was really weird.
Cross-dressing ref. It's a new
Yeah.
one.
But the interesting thing is how this battle plays out. So Icky does show up to see the actual battle results, to see how
Hmm.
things are going, because obviously he wants to find out why is this random Metabee showing up everywhere.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
everyone's.
god, it's a clone of Metabee.
Hmm.
Um,
Everybody's mad at him, and he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then they chase him around, and then he's like, okay, seriously, why is everybody talking about this? I
yeah.
haven't gotten into a fight with anyone all day.
Now, here's where it bothers me about the battle, because out of everything that we've seen so far when it comes to damage across anywhere,
Hmm.
now that the ref actually ends up getting hurt, the match is disqualified.
So they're doing the season one of Yu-Gi-Oh thing where they tell you rules exist, but they very poorly define them, and then they play fast and loose with them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's essentially what's happening, which is why like they quote unquote told us you can only battle someone once for points, which means that every time you battle someone for the first time, even if you have no idea what you're doing and you're just learning, that's the only one that counts, which is the dumbest, stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. What do you
Mm-hmm.
mean the first battle's the only one that counts? How the fuck does that make any logical sense? You're telling me that
Right.
this that then how the hell did the main character ever get any points? Because he lost like 30 matches in the beginning because he was fucking learning. So
Mm-hmm.
how could you even have that as a rule? You would never ever have new people entering anything because they would be losing, and all the people who are good would stay good, and you would just have this slowly shrinking top end and a bunch of other people who are discouraged, rightly so, because why the hell would you even try? It would take you, your first year would be a wash. You would never make it. Your second year would be your best chance. Your second year would be your first, so you waste an entire year, and it's all training, all learning. But that's why would you do that? That why would you ever disqualify people, like discourage them for a full year to be like none of this counts because you're going to lose a lot and that will tank you in the rankings and you'll never make it. That's
Mm-hmm.
stupid. That's just a dumb rule. Not to mention that first time is the only one that matters. Okay, but like first time that the ref is there because they also have kind of shown that matches don't count if the ref's not around because it's not official, which is why they don't even exchange like parts because well that battle there was no ref, it's not an official match, so you're not actually like betting parts. And then like the main character fought in technically completely illegal matches here and there where they were just not being refereed at all. They literally fought a mafia dude to save like an organized crime guy. One of those matches was legit, the other like two weren't. So it's like I don't understand the logic for your universe. If you're gonna give me rules, then just don't say them. Just don't say anything. Just say like, "Oh, it's about wins and that's it." Just be like, it's how many times you won, and we look over the footage and we grade you. Okay,
Yep.
fine. Then it's bullshit, and I have no way of knowing. Cool. But no, they had to come up with a fast and hard rule that sounds really stupid when you spend 2 seconds thinking about it, and then they just never really like it. It's there, but it's throwaway. It's
It
there when
kind
it
of makes me
matters.
wonder if it was a dub rule rather than the actual
They
Medabot
felt
rules,
that they
but
had to throw one in, like they had to say something about it, and in the original script they just never mentioned it because they're like, who cares? It's a show. The main
yeah.
character makes it because it makes the story better. Who cares? It,
There's a lot of different things, especially
yeah.
with these episodes where I notice like, I get that it sounds like it's a joke that they're doing, but I wonder if it was something that was still done in the Japanese version.
Hmm.
And I'll explain something like that when we get to one of the second or third episode, I think.
Hmm.
So we get their fight. The ref ends up getting hurt, and so he ends up disqualifying the match altogether.
Hmm.
And they're like, well, okay, that's that. What are we going to do now? And then they start talking about the Phantom Meta Fighter. And immediately my mind is like, oh,
Hmm.
Phantom Meta Fighter. Oh, it's gotta be Henry, right? And they even legit call him Phantom Meta Fighter Henry. Like, and
Yeah.
like they play it for gags. Like, okay, it has to be Henry, no matter what. It's gotta be Henry. But we find out it's not Henry. We find that out in the next episode. But anyways, after all this is said and done, Shrimp Lips shows up, and Shrimp Lips decides that he wants to go ahead and take on Icky and everybody else with his brand new Medabot that he acquired through a flashback that we didn't get a chance to see because it wasn't part of the episode that we watched.
Yeah, Shrimplips
God.
has all these Metabots, and we don't. I assume that they're doing the bad guys have money, they just bought new Metabots. But he faces him, and again, this is where rules become really muddy and stupid. Shrimplets fights Icky and Metabee, and he also faces off against Koji and um, I am blanking on his robot's name all of a sudden. Similodon.
Sumilodon.
Koji and Similodon. He faces them because he's got like three watches on at the same time, and he's quote unquote controlling all three of them. And because he does it under his name, he's allowed to officially challenge them. And so
Which is
because it's
Shrimpy Lipowitz.
which is still really stupid, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's really dumb. Um, but he challenges them officially. He wins because the two of them are too busy bickering to win the fight, because that's how that works sometimes. And they lose, and because it's the first match and the only one that counts, Shrimplets gets credit for both of them, and I think he officially bumps Icky out of the ranking or some shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was trying to
Yeah,
figure out like in the next episodes like how did he get knocked out of the rankings, and then with you saying that I'm like, oh, that makes
because he
sense.
challenged, and they say that explicitly. They're like, yes, he did not challenge you as Shrimp Lips. He challenged you under his real name, so he officially challenged, which is paperwork. That's how points work. He officially challenged you on the paperwork, so it counts because of how he challenged you.
Yep.
And then he just gets absolutely wrecked by Phantom Metafighter, whose Arc Beetle absolutely destroys fucking his
Well,
three units.
hang on, don't forget, Shrimp Lips actually ends up defeating all three others.
Hmm.
So, and then Metabee
But yeah,
ends
he
up
he beats
getting
Rintaro
his
too, I think.
yeah, and all their Metabots end up being deactivated, and Metabee's metal ends up getting into Shrimp Lips'
Oh
hands.
yeah, because well, no, they played for. He challenged him for the medal.
Right.
Shrimplip said, "I challenge you for the medal," which I guess is something you can bet. Which again doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you would sanction that because that's a lot. Like that's
Mhm.
I get parts, but the medal is way more than just an arm, a leg, even an entire like tin pet. It is way more than that. That
Oh
is
yeah.
most of the Metabot. It's like 90% of the Metabot. So challenging for that, I would honestly say you shouldn't even allow because that no, that you shouldn't even sanction that type of thing because that's not how that works.
Which is why I wanted to say Racer X, Space
Yeah,
Metafighter
yeah,
X ends
that's
up
fair.
saying what he
No,
does.
no, Racer X is that's accurate. That's what it is. He is that trope
Yeah,
brought to life.
yeah. And so Space Metafighter X ends up saving the day, ends up defeating Shrimp Lips in that Metabot,
Yep,
ends up
and he
getting
wins back
Metabee
the medal.
his medal back, and that's pretty much it for that episode.
Well, that technically is the beginning of the next episode because
Well,
it's
yeah.
part two. The next episode is a part two.
See, it was all blending together because at that point I'm like I'm already annoyed. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, that and it
bef-
is unexpectedly a two-parter. Like they legitimately drag it out to two episodes.
oh, that's right, because it actually shows with him losing his medal before that. All right.
hmm And then it starts
Uh,
the next episode with after Arcbeetle shows up, they start the next episode, and Arcbeetle's there, and that's when the fight takes place, and then the rest of the episode is fallout from the fight.
right. So the next episode is called "The Ace from Outer Space." But before we go into that, did you have any quotes from the episode 19 that you liked?
I well, I will say that the cross-dressing referee, continuity for him, he was still hurt later on in the
Yes.
episode after he
He
got hurt
shows up as
earlier.
in an ambulance for the second
Yeah,
fight.
he does. They fucking wheel him out of it. I'm like, ooh, continuity. Damn.
Yeah.
But
Um.
so they legit do that, and then um, I forgot that the Phantom Metafighter, Space Metafighter X, was Henry. I'm like, yeah, no, it's Henry. It's literally Henry. And then
A
Rintaro,
Henry.
I think,
A
calls him out on
Henry.
it at one point. Oh yeah, no, he's a Henry. Uh-huh. He's totally not
Yeah.
the Henry that we all know, who is also Phantom Renegade. That's definitely a different Henry. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, okay, we'll get into that in just a second. But so for the quotes that I liked for episode 19, there's at one point where Samantha and Sloane they're busy chasing after Icky, and at
hmm
one point Sloane goes, "They won't get away from me, boss. I'm in peak physical condition." And without a second, Samantha goes, "For a cow, come on, move." Oh my god,
It's a
that's
cheap,
mean.
low-hanging fat joke, but at the same time, he does get huffing and puffing a little faster than everybody else. So,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then
he just
there
needs
was
the
a
cardio.
contrived fight between Ikki, Rentaro, and Koji, and for some reason Karen got involved. I don't remember why, but she goes, "All of you, don't fight over me. It's not worth it." And then Arika shows up. She goes, "You said it. I thought it."
Yeah, I remember that. Arika's still really salty. She does not like Karen.
At
She doesn't
all.
like how much she doesn't like how much attention she gets. She doesn't like how she acts and how sincere she is and how it's just her being genuine. Because
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, Erika just really wants to hate her, and she's like, I can't, because she's actually just a nice person, but fuck her.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the logic in her brain. And so she just takes every opportunity to just really try and dig in. She does not like Karen at all.
So let's get into episode 20, the Ace from
Mm.
Outer Space. It immediately picks up where the last one left off, and
hmm
it's Space Meta Fighter X fighting Shrimp Lips.
Yep.
He wins, gets Metabee his medal back, and then he chastises Icky,
hmm
saying, "Oh, they make up their own rules. Are you just gonna follow suit with them? Are you just gonna jump off a bridge when they say?"
hmm
It's like,
Yep.
wow, all right. And then Rentaro's like, "Hey, I know who you are, Phantom Meta Fighter, Henry." Now, here's the thing: you were like, "Oh, well, this is clearly Henry. It's a Henry. It's not the Henry." Because while they're in that group setting, they're actually at the shop for whatever reason, and
hmm
Henry is there listening to them while they're talking to Phantom Metafighter X.
They show him on screen with Phantom Metafighter at the same time.
Yeah, they show him there.
Mm,
So it's not Henry, or it's rather
I
it's not Phantom Renegade Henry.
I disagree, but keep going.
Why do you disagree? No, I need to know.
Because I don't remember seeing them on screen at the exact same time. Henry was at the shop at the fight, and then Phantom Metafighter X shows up, and Henry's gone, and then Phantom Metafighter X disappears, and then Henry comes back, and it's like, yeah, the Bruce Wayne Batman phenomenon. They're never in the room at the
No,
same time.
they
I
were
wonder if they're
definitely
the same
there at the
person.
same time. Like
Hmm.
I witnessed that today. I was questioning it. I'm like, this has to be regular Henry. And then they immediately go like, oh no, he's right there. He's literally talking to him, and Henry's looking at him. Yeah, that's definitely not him.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't recommend rewatching the episode because it is a bad episode.
Wow.
Oh. But yeah, it explicitly shows that Phantom Renegade Henry is not the same one. Which then begs the question: who is this
Yeah.
Space Metafighter X?
And why do they fight with, why is their name also Henry? Why do they fight with a beetle type Medabot, which would explain why Henry had a beetle type Medabot lying around in the back room that he's not using anymore?
Which
Like,
you would
why?
expect.
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's them playing tricks. And I'm starting to think who it could actually be. And they focus on different people throughout the episode who are like, "Hey, guess I won't be there for your tournament, son." Icky's dad. Like, oh shit, are they doing this just to be coy to show that he might actually be this quote unquote space metafighter X?
You think his father is cosplaying and pretending to be like a 20-year-old man when he's clearly a middle-aged man
Hey
who
man,
has a
stranger
job?
things have happened.
True. It's also anime. They just
Yeah.
stuff happens because. I do like that Space Metafighter X's signature is an X.
God, yeah.
I know it's stupid, but it's like no, his name is Space Metafighter X. His name is X, just the letter. So technically, that's his signature. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
Um, yeah, no.
everything about this episode beyond this opening moment is straight up filler. Like even the
Yeah.
ending, it's just it's
So
not a good episode.
it what couple of the things that I do like the episode shows. One, I fucking love Metafighter X's departures. He fucking Batmans. He he goes into a bathroom with one door that leads in and that's it, and then disappears. He literally crawls behind a fucking
Oh no no no
poster.
no no! Go back to that real quick. He goes into a bathroom. Arika follows him, and what does she find? A running toilet.
Yep. So like
The
he
camera doesn't pan
jumps.
up. It doesn't do anything else.
She just opens the door, the toilet is flushing, and he is gone. Which
Yes,
means, I guess, that he flushed himself down the toilet.
we got fucking Mario here. Is what we got.
Yeah, yeah, I love his exits because this is where they, I guess, start showing his exits where because he'll show up normally and then just disappear, but he always just fucking ninjas out of everything. And we're talking
Yeah.
like magical ninja where just he does stuff and you're like, how did he do that?
Yeah, I was like, all right, that's an interesting gag. I wonder how it'll pay off, Cotton.
I do, and I wish I remember the line. Karen has a solid fucking burn in this episode, and it
I don't
happens.
remember because I
I
was
know
again, I was very
it.
annoyed.
It happens after the autograph scene. She says something, and it is just such a solid burn. Made fools of all of them.
God,
So
you
good.
know, I don't want to rewatch the episode, but if anybody ends up listening to this, please let us know what she says.
Oh God, it was so good though. It was such a solid burn.
So, do you remember the plot of this particular one?
It's essentially a few things. This one
Yeah.
is it's the fallout from the battle. They lose. He loses the medal. Icky feels like shit, and then Metafighter X shows up and basically just sighs, backhand shrimp lips so hard that all three of his robots lose, and then picks up the medal, gives it to Icky, and essentially says, "Shame, shame, shame, shame. How dare you do that?" And then walks away, and Icky feels like trash. Um,
Hmm.
and then uh, let's see,
This is where it gets muddled for me because it's like this
there's
is clear filler.
yeah, there's a character named Oyama who I don't remember what the episode is about enough because I watched this like 2 weeks ago. Um, but oh, there's a character who's Oyama, and I guess my
Is
thoughts
he the
were
quote
that
unquote trainer?
oh yeah, yeah, he is. They go to learn from a guy, and that guy is it kind of looks like it's a dude wearing a beard.
Yeah,
Um,
it looked like a really fake hobo thing.
I thought Oyama was like a robot or Henry. Turns out it's not. Turns out it's actually the Rubber Robo Gang, and
It.
they.
Let's be more specific. It's Shrimp Lips standing on
hmm
top of one of the
Oh yeah, yeah.
Medabots.
They did the two guys in a trench coat to be taller with shrimp
Yeah,
lips, which is hilarious and stupid. But they also managed to convince two of the characters
Mr. Vincent Adult Man.
to wear the outfits, and apparently those antenna allow you to literally control the person wearing it, which brings up a whole host of questions about whether
I was
the
thinking the same
people
thing.
in the Rubber Robo Gang, like obviously the main ones you get to know with names, they are all you see them outside of their outfits all the time, and they
Hmm.
are dyed in the wool, dedicated, that they truly want to be part of the Rubber Robo Gang. It
Right.
begs the question, is everyone in Rubber Robo Gang dedicated, or are they like
Being
basically
mind controlled.
kidnapping laborers? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I need 100 people to do this thing. Go get me bodies. and they just kidnap people off the street, throw them in a suit, mind control, and then that person works for them now. And they, of course, feed them and take care of them, but you're still kidnapping them, holding them against their will, and then forcing them to do things they don't want to do. So, like, is that happening? Is that just this one episode, or is that how Rubber Robo works?
I'm
It's
kind of
evil,
under the impression that
but
that's what's happening, especially
yeah.
considering that we know that the big man is the one who's in charge of everything.
hmm
So kind of makes me feel like that.
And then at the
Um,
end, we get the big follow-up fight where they actually fight again, and of course, main characters win because they learned lessons through the episode and they have, found their core as
oh,
a
don't
fighter
don't
again.
forget, dude, I rock again.
He says it's the catch line. Don't get mad at it every time. It's
It's
literally
the
going to happen
catchphrase for his
every
fucking
time.
bullshit metaphors thing. It's gonna
Yes,
happen every time he does
yes.
metaphors.
Stop
God
getting
damn it!
mad at it. That's like getting mad that it exists. It's still going to
I am mad
exist.
at that it exists.
But the thing what I loved is they win the second fight, and they definitely are still in fourth place because the first fight is all that matters. So the second fight was completely moot because again, you have the dumbest rule I've ever heard, where only the first fight counts. So forever after that, you can never get points. So Icky wins the second fight on principle, but is still not in the top three. So he's still losing.
Yep, but at least he got a meta part out of it.
Yeah, but they're not going to address that. They're just going to probably do it off screen or some shit. Anywho, after that, they wind up. The next episode is, in my opinion, better
Really?
because it's
Because this is the one that I hated the most.
really, it's
Yeah.
it's so this one I can see why you would because it is kind of filler, but it is a training episode. That's all it is. That's 100% what's going on. You have you have Sumilidon and oh god, my brain keeps wanting to say Henry because I'm convinced Space
Koji, because the
Metafighter X
haircut.
is Henry. I that too, but I'm convinced that he is Henry. And this is a Space Metafighter X episode where trains uh he trains them in the technique of Shadow Sword, which I was totally wrong about.
Yeah, we
He
both were. We thought
yeah,
that it was both
because
involving
it's
Rokusho,
fucking
who did
called
not show up in the
Shadow.
last other episodes either.
What?
He didn't show up in the other episodes either.
Who?
Rokusho.
No, he didn't. And he doesn't show up in this one either, I think. Or no, he does, but
Nope.
he just watches? No.
No, he's not
No, he's
even
not
in
there at
there.
all. No, they okay, so and this is one of those things. He calls the technique Shadow Sword. The technique is move really fast.
Yep.
That's it. It's just
Which
move
kind of makes
quickly.
sense.
It's not
It
a
kind of makes
sword.
sense.
You don't do it has nothing. It's literally just move.
I
It
know, but like,
it's
if you
not
were
a
to just shout
sword.
out random techniques, that would be like one way of saying, "Here's my technique, Shadow Sword." You pull out a sword, and then you just happen to move so fast to the point where it looks like you're blinking.
Yeah, but it doesn't
That makes
actually involve
sense.
a sword.
I
And
know.
so what we learn in the episode is that he is training because he doesn't have Metaforce because the way it works, Metaforce truly is a rare, like one in a million. It happens to some metals, but not all. Icky
Which is why they're
and
called rare
Meta,
metals.
yeah, that's what makes them rare. They are a normal metal. They just happen to have that potential. They got the metal tested, and the one for Similidon doesn't do it. So there's no way they can use Metaforce. Ergo, he wants to be able to deal with Metaforce because he knows he'll have to. He's
Yep.
like, I want to be able to go head to head with Metaforce, but I don't know how. So Space Metafighter X essentially takes him under his wing, and he's like, I can train you how to use Shadow Sword, and then he shows him what it is. Essentially, he moves so fast that like there's no way to react to it, which is a way of getting around Metaforce. Because if you are already doing something, the 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 adage that I heard you will hear a lot in MMA and fighting in general is acting is always faster than reacting. If you are already acting, you are already quicker than the person who now has to react to you.
So
Because
being
period.
proactive.
Yeah, being proactive. It's always faster. Just always. So he learns in this episode, you see him training a bunch, you see Similidon training, and they're training to do the Shadow Sword thing so that they can deal with it. You get Icky legitimately trying to come up with a way because they both wind up training and they do the rival thing. You actually get him to have to ask himself, how do I deal with that? Because he doesn't know how. And then Icky
Hmm.
does the thing where you're like, oh, you're the main character, but you're not as stupid as we make you out to be. And he has to use real strategy when they actually come up against each other at the end of the episode. he actually comes up with a strategy that will allow him to go against the Shadow Sword,
Will,
which
what
was,
was that strategy? Because when it happened, I'm like, I don't remember him getting this.
well, he shoots him in the leg with the sticky spider thing that they got when they defeated Spider, which goes back to the episode when the Rubber Robo Gang didn't bring any attacking parts for their Medabot because she thought they
Oh
were only going to be
yeah.
kidnapping people.
Mm-hmm.
So they beat the Medabot, and Icky got the spider silk gun thing. And so he equips that on Metabee, but he throws Rakusho's like shawl thing over him so you can't see it. So you can only see one of his arms, and he's shooting at him normally with that arm. And then when he gets an opening, he sticks Similodon's feet to the ground, which holds him down and completely locking his movement, which is a solid strategy against anyone, period. And then he proceeds to win the fight. And that's one way of doing it. If your opponent's going for speed, you find an opening to disable that speed, and now it's taken out of the equation, and you can just wail on him. And then I have written down surprise cliffhanger, so I don't remember how this
God,
episode ends, but apparently
that
it's
that
cliffhanger.
that annoyed the shit out of me too. Oh my god, it was legit right after their fight.
Uh huh.
He gets a notice, or I think it was a note that goes like, "Oh my god, my mom's been kidnapped by the Rubber Robo Gang."
And it just ends.
No. Yeah, I hated it. I just absolutely hated it.
You were not a fan of these episodes. You did not like them. They made you mad, and you are actively trying to scrub them from your brain.
Pretty much.
I
Um,
did not hate them that much, but they are not the strongest trio. I am curious, what was this episode's real number in the order?
so surprisingly, this also skipped past the ones that we just watched too. So
God.
let's start with episode 19, Inter Rentaro. That was 31. Ace from Space, number 20. That was number 32.
Makes sense. Has to
And
be.
then the one that we just watched, number 21, Me and My Shadow Sword. That was 34.
God damn it. Why?
They
Why would
skipped
you?
number 33.
But not just that, it's going to create some massive hole at some point because we are so far back compared to those episodes that they're just not going to reference these things having happened at all because they can't. So like how weird are the next like 15 episodes going to be?
We're going to get into that when we go into our prediction moment
Hmm.
here. But
Oh boy.
uh, they also, what's interesting is that what's 33 in Japan is 31 for America.
Ah, why?
Make it make sense.
I don't understand. I don't think even when we're done, like when we finish this show, I don't think any of these choices are gonna make any sense. Like we're gonna get to the end and be like, there was no reason to do that. You could have just aired them in order. Why didn't you? Like,
I don't know.
in order to air them this badly out of order, you have to already have them. So it's not like you were confused or like you couldn't get the episode, so you had to skip one and then go back later. You didn't skip 3 to 4 months of anime to go back. That's not how that works. So it's
I
not like
mean,
they were missing the
it
episodes or something like that.
right. It's not like what they
Eh.
did with Dragon Ball GT, where they initially missed the first 13 episodes.
And then they literally spliced together like 4 episodes for episode one, and it was like episode one, episode seven, and like episode nine or some shit.
Yep.
Oh, that was rough.
God. I'm
Or
glad that when they
Cardcaptor
re-released
Sakura,
that
where they
onto
did the
retail, they
same
put it all
thing.
together.
Yep. And with Cardcaptor Sakura, they did the same, where they completely edited out content they felt was inappropriate because
For
being gay is
kids.
wrong. You know,
Yeah.
that good job,
Garbage.
guys. And then not
Yeah.
only that, but they also aired it just weirdly out of order because I have to assume they didn't think that the lower energy first couple of episodes where they set everything up would go over as well. So they really wanted to start on like a, hey, look how cool this is kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but
So on the bright side, the next three episodes, at least they all run in sequential order. Even
oh
though we're
boy,
still out of order, at
oh,
least they run in sequential order to how
each
they play
other.
out in Japanese.
Hmm.
So episode 22, which is 35 over there, is called "Dude, Where's My Ma?"
Yeah, which she got kidnapped, so we're getting the follow up on that.
Yep.
Bet you it's the Rubber
Episode
Robo
23.
Gang. Bet you they're going to try and ransom her for the rare metal because we're having a Team Rocket Pikachu episode.
They really are. I mean, I'd be fine with that. I just didn't like the way that they set it up.
Yeah.
Episode 23, which is 36 over there, is called X. like Metafighter X.
Probably him.
Extreme Measures.
You think it's going to be
So I
part of
think
a two-parter and he's going to have to save them or something?
either that or we actually finally get to see him in a tournament setting.
Yeah, like he'll just be fighting somebody and we'll watch him like either mop the floor with them or legitimately be on par with someone.
Yeah. And then 24, which is 37, The Road to Ruins, also known as Raiders of the Lost Medabot.
Hmm.
I bet you anything it's Rokusho.
Yeah?
Me meaning because we haven't seen him in such a long time. Where is he gone? Because oh yeah, that's right. He went somewhere with that bird so he can get more answers. If I remember right, that's
Hmm.
what happened.
He was looking for answers to what happened to the doctor because he wants to know what went on. He doesn't have the answers.
Right. So at that point, that makes sense. So Raiders of the Lost Metabot. I bet you anything has to deal with him.
I could see that. I mean, they're doing of the Lost Ark kind of thing, but I could see it
Yeah.
have to do with him because he wandered off. We could also be totally wrong. Sometimes they do kind of go off on these episodes. Um,
Mm.
I am curious when we get a little closer. Like they're going to run out of these because this show is the same length in America as it is in Japan. So they're going to have to now jump back to older episodes at some point because they've leapt
So
forward. That's going to get fucking weird.
So it's a good thing that you mentioned that. This
Hmm.
won't be for next week, but the week after that, we've got 25 through 27.
Hmm.
Episode 27, you ready for this?
Oh boy.
Is number 6 in Japanese.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Oh, I get that they're disconnected, but that episode's going to be completely disconnected from everything. That's going to
yeah,
be no plot because, what?
yeah. And get this,
Oh
number
boy.
8 in Japanese is number 32 for us.
Why? What did I just want to know, like, honestly, if anybody has ever, I doubt it because this show predates like conventions and panels essentially because it's just too niche, but why? Like, there had to be a reason. Somebody made a choice, a very particular one, and it wasn't even like we need to air out of order. It was cherry pick the order you want it to be in. Someone sat there with every episode of the show and legitimately reordered it on purpose. There was a reason. I just want to know what
Uh
the
huh.
logic was because I don't understand why you would need to do it that heavily. And then on top of that, why that experiment failed so hard that the next show they jump back and they're like, "Fuck it, we're just going to go in order." You could have done that the first time. What were we doing the first one? Like, what was that? What happened?
I'm looking to see if I can try to find anything right now, but I don't see anything currently.
Hmm. I'm just really
But yeah,
curious.
that's
I
it's
really
really
want to know. That's
weird.
going to be the big, like, Stonehenge question when we get to the end. The big mystery of the ancient world for me when the show is over. I'm going to have no idea. None of the people who worked on this are, like, probably remember the show, to be honest.
Right.
Other than voice actors, I doubt there's anyone still, like, in the industry who remembers doing this show. So I'm sure I could might as well start looking up who worked on it and just maybe sending some emails and just be like, hey, believe it or not, we're randomly discussing this show you worked on fucking 20 years ago. And the big
Start
question.
chastising them, be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
No, no, I'm not an asshole. I'm not the IRS. I don't
I
start on the wrong foot.
mean,
Uh, no, it's just going to be like, hey, we're watching it and we're having fun, but also getting frustrated because it's a really fun show. And I mean, that's how it works with stuff you love. But the big question we genuinely can't seem to answer is this, and just see if anyone even responds and is like, "So fun fact," and they could at least shed some light on it. But hey, man, never know.
uh, yeah, we never know. Honestly, we probably never will. I don't think I want to
Yeah,
go and dive into that.
yeah, I don't know that we will, which is fine. It's just going to be one of those things. There's a bunch of possible reasons. It's also, again, was kind of industry standard in the 90s, 80s and 90s. It was pretty industry standard to do stuff like that. Whole
Hmm.
shows were completely re-edited to make stuff happen. So, that gave you Power Rangers, fucking Macross. So it's just kind of how that went. It was a thing they did. And that's probably where we're going
Right.
to leave it, probably what it'll be. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really the best that I'm gonna say for that. So, is there anything else that you want to add before we finish this episode, Will?
I don't think so.
I'll take that as a no.
Oh, what was that?
I'm just saying. I'll take that as a no.
Okay. Fuck you then.
Yeah. But in the meantime, yeah, so we'll be coming back next week to do episodes 22 through 24. Hopefully they won't be as much as nonsense as we got for this week, but yeah, and then by the time I was looking at the time codes for what we have left for actual content to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out we only have roughly about 2 hours left, so it's not too bad. So with us getting
Oh, for
two
this
hours
season?
for it, for this season, yeah,
Oh yeah, you're right. Already up 24. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it.
yeah. So with us doing that, I think we're gonna get to a point where we can finally start setting up for our next set of specials. So by the time this airs, the Pacific Rim episodes will finally be out. I am so sorry that it's taking so long for them to come out, but they will be out by the time this comes out.
I mean,
Um,
those were pretty intense and long too, and we didn't even do the show. So,
Yeah. We'll end up doing the first three Transformers movies, and those will be separate episodes.
oh, we're not going to do like a mashup of all three or something.
Oh God, no, that's too much.
It's like 6 hours of movie. That's a lot.
I would rather split that up because that just movie three alone is super long, and if we're gonna be talking about all of them, it's just like no, let's just do it one at a time.
Yeah, it's fair. Well, that means I get to watch what's his face
Yeah,
get killed again too. Well, that might be like movie
multiple
four. I get
times.
there are several characters I'm gonna get to watch die several times now.
I mean, in spoilers, but in Revenge of the Fallen, Optimus dies.
Again.
Okay, he dies live action.
Yeah, fair. First time he bit it in that. Don't worry, he gets better.
Yeah. I'm well, better meaning revival. But
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
save that for when we actually review the movie. So, Will, did you have a bad time this evening?
It I did not have anywhere near as bad a time as you did. The episodes, while a
No,
little
I go to extremes.
you really this was like nails on a chalkboard to you. I would rewatch the
It
episodes, and
was.
I might go back because I am curious, but they weren't the best. I also part of our reception to it is they're so out of order. It just makes you wonder how off the wall they are compared to the actual story. Like how much is this going to affect things? But we'll see.
So one thing I did note before we started recording is that if you go into the Medabots
Hmm.
wiki, like the fan made one, they actually do put in the different changes for the Japanese version.
Oh, ah.
So maybe one of these days we might dedicate an episode to where it
Oh
just
yeah.
goes over the differences.
Okay, that would be fun after
I
we're
just didn't
done.
want to do that for
No, no,
this.
no. When we're
Yeah.
done, we can go through and we can just kind of like either cherry pick, because I'm sure there's some really minor stuff in there, but we can talk about some of
Hmm.
the more interesting changes. We could even just,
Oh,
oh,
that just reminded me. So one of the jokes in the final episode that we watched
yeah,
today, there's one where Arika is trying to record the fight, and she goes like, "Y'all need to actually do something because I'm running out of tape." And you see like a camcorder footage where it's just black and white for a moment. You remember that?
kind of, yeah.
I swear I'm not gonna look it up right now
Uh-huh,
because I want to find out later.
uh-huh.
I swear that was a dub joke because there's no way that they ended up doing that in the Japanese version. That has to be something that they actually did in the American version, strictly just to edit something in.
Really?
I bet you
Hmm.
anything.
Interesting take on it. No, that sounds entirely valid, and sometimes you make choices like that, especially if you're going to be making heavy edits and adjusting things. No, I could see
Hmm.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Will, I'm gonna sign off for the evening. I hope you have a good night, and I promise not to delete this audio.
Can't get away from it that easily. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Good night, guys.